So each being is attracted to the body in which he will meet his effects, and that not only is the body to give opportunity for his reward or punishment, for that he was connected with the family in which he was born and the stream of heredity. Justice orders that that being shall suffer or enjoy irrespective of what family he comes to. And this brings up the idea of, it compounds the idea of justice. It directs that the ego shall come to the race or the nation or the family to which its responsibility lies for the part taken by it in other lives, informing of the general character, or affecting the physical stream of heredity that has so much influence on those who are involved in it. Therefore, it is just that even the grandchildren shall suffer if they in the past have had a hand in molding the family, or even in bringing about a social order that is detrimental to those who fall into it through incarnation. The word responsibility is used to indicate composed of similarity and justice. English doesn't have a lot of words for it, so one could use the word sort of responsibility or duty. So the beings are attracted to each other by their karma, and its similarity of character, which causes the place of rebirth for the being to come, and he's drawn, the example is, magnetically or through the path of least resistance and of the greatest conductibility. Where the reincarnating ego is directly responsible for family or race conditions, it will decide itself upon exact principles of justice, and in order to meet its obligations, to be reborn where it shall receive, physically or otherwise, the result of its former acts. And that's why, because reincarnation is a re-embodiment, and at each new life there's a new brain, there's new organs, the memory, the exact details of previous lives aren't perhaps remembered. It's said that some people do remember their past lives, but we have sort of like a clean slate. But what is preserved is the essence of the experience of the previous lives. That which is, the essence is assimilated to the being, and becomes part of the new character of the reincarnating being. Another variation of that story, that anecdote, was that the broken stone should be cast at the prince, and though the result was that he was not killed but suffered while the pieces were being thrown. And this gives another example of karmic law, that is, that a given amount of force of a karmic character may be thrown at one time, all at once, in bulk, or it can be divided up into smaller pieces, the sum of which represent the whole mass of force. And so we see it in life. Sometimes people suffer many years through an adverse karmic event, but if it came all at once, it would be crushing. And we see this in the law of physics too. I'm trying to draw a parallel between how it's a law and it's consistent, whether in the moral realm or in the metaphysical realm or the physical realm. So as we act, and as we think, we act, and as we act, we sow, and as we sow, we reap. And the result of this is that we come into incarnation again and again. So the entity coming into incarnation consists of desires, of tendencies, and these are unexpended, so it draws the being back into incarnation. And it's sort of like the law of economy. Whatever is the ruling tendency, that is to say, whatever group of affinities is strongest, those affinities will lead it to the point of manifestation at which there is the least opposition. It incarnates in those surroundings most in harmony with its karmic tendencies, and all the effects of actions contained in the karma so manifesting will be experienced by that individual. So this governs, the conditions of childhood, the family, that sort of thing, heredity, national characteristics. It should be remembered that, not all the tendencies are exhausted. So it may happen that karma causes an entity to incarnate in a particular surrounding, and it was only strong enough to carry that being into physical existence. Being exhausted in that direction, the entity is sort of has a freedom of action, not maybe being oppressed by a heavy karma, for example. Maybe the adverse event was that incarnates into a poor family and stays there for some degree of time, and once it's exhausted, the being takes a completely different line of life, totally different from their surroundings, and that could be an example of the exhaustion of old karma and the generating of new. So the question is, can an individual affect his own karma? Of course. Karma has been called the continuance of the act, because the effect is, we experience it over time, but in reality, Madame Blavatsky says that the distinctions between past, present, and future are only, we experience them as a result of our senses. So the fact that we experience the result over time is an illusion, like everything in the physical world. It's temporary. It's not going to last forever. It's constantly changing. It's constantly transforming. So on the intellectual plane, there's memory. There's intellectual gifts. This explains genius, those beings who maybe are born and have, very young children have this incredible musical ability that there's no explanation for, or any sort of gift that the being has as a result of prior action, and the results come back to them. A being who has a talent for any characteristic, for art, for drawing, for understanding how things work, these are all the result of past action, past manifestation. And in the way this is coming out today, it does sound like, and I hope to sort of change that, it's a great mistake to suppose that one is the puppet of the past, or that one is helpless, because the law of karma is not fatalistic. It's possible for an individual to affect their karma. It depends on the amount of energy and focus and the choosing of the thoughts, how one fulfills one's daily life, how one, the hopes and dreams and the aspirations of the individual. And whatever one engages in with the mind is sort of like food. Does it sustain one? Does it bring one to a greater universal awareness of all beings, or does it focus into personal, transitory thing, related to personalities or something? So definitely by changing the line of thought, by expanding to include, drawing a larger circle and including as many other beings as possible, we're changing our karma by changing our thought, by changing our action. A person can have no attachment for something they don't think about. Therefore, the first step is to fix one's thought onto whatever the highest ideal is that one can conceive of. The mind is the thinker, but it's sort of the heart that guides the mind. Otherwise, the mind can, off on its own, be cold and intellectual. There has to be that connection for the person to be whole. That the thoughts have to have a moral basis as well. So the mind and the thoughts, the attitude draw, sort of determine the karmic vibrational frequency, and it sort of, the analogy is, draws the cords around the soul and imprisons the aspirations and binds them with chains of difficulty and obstruction. It's desire that causes past karma to take form and take shape and build it says the house of clay, build the next life, so to speak. That's why Patanjali's yoga aphorisms and some of the Eastern religions talk about non-attachment to action. Because if one is attached to the action, then one is attached to the result, then one is going to manipulate and try and fix it so that maybe it's good for the self regardless of others. So it's desire which keeps us incarnating, creating karma that results in incarnation, and that results in where we are now, in a sense of separation between self and other. So in order to repair that, to mirror the universe, a drop of water is not different from the ocean. The spark is not different from the fire. We have to change the direction and the mode of our thought to be universal, to be compassionate, to be connected. Those are some thoughts. So the attitude of the mind is one thing we can do to change. Taking some time every day to deliberately focus on such ideas. Exploring, reading material like Theosophy or some of the timeless scriptures of humanity opens the mind, draws it out of that everyday experience. Patanjali calls these sort of these desires and what's left of them mental deposits. And these mental deposits can only operate, as was said, in an environment that is appropriate to it. So the environment is the body, it's the mind, it's the astral body, the emotions and the desires. And these mental deposits are called skandhas in the Sanskrit tradition, and these skandhas are what attract the being back into incarnation and are sort of like the aggregates left over.